I often speak about patterns in my videos because the world functions through patterns. The paranormal operates through patterns and cycles. I explained that often already. I'm not going to explain it again. I want to highlight something to you in this video, which is quite important. In case you already know it, then you don't need to finish watching this video because you already know it. Anytime something good happens to you, the enemy comes with a disruption to take your attention away from the good that happens to you. The enemy cannot undo the good that happens to you, but he can distract you from operating and benefiting from the good that you received. For example, someone could receive a brand new car as a birthday present. And the car, he saved it in his garage. So he then plans to drive the car around on his free days. But then suddenly he receives weird phone calls. And he goes to the police. The police says, yeah, we can't really do much about it because nobody threatened you or anything like that. I would advise you not to pick up the phone or to block the numbers. So after receiving those weird phone calls, he received friend requests on Facebook of profiles that didn't add up. Many of them portrayed women in lingerie, even though when looking closely, realized those were not women, they were transgenders. And he was thinking, what's going on this? Why are trannies or people that make tranny profiles adding me? So he wanted to know what was going on. And look at this. The guy just received a car for his birthday present. He was about to drive the car around on his free days. Right at that same time, he began to receive weird phone calls. And then it became weird friend requests. What was going on? The enemy was distracting him so he couldn't operate in the blessing he received. The car was a blessing because he could afford the gasoline, he had a driver's license, and the public transport in his region was bad. It didn't work properly. And it was expensive. So the car was an advantage for him. Instead of him operating that advantage, he now was figuring out who was sending him those weird messages and who were behind those weird Facebook accounts. Now, what I just gave unto you was a parable. You understand that? That is the pattern of distraction the enemy uses. It's a basic pattern that works often. It works on unbelievers almost 99% of the time. There are some cases here and there where it doesn't work, but overall with unbelievers, Satan has a guarantee it will work. Why? Because unbelievers, most of the time, they never look at the bigger picture. They never examine things. This pattern of distraction is also used on believers. It can be, for example, that you just completed a French course and now you are advancing in French. You're watching French TV, you're reading French newspapers. So you're doing well. Why? Because you plan to do business with French folks. You have plans, you have dreams that includes French people. So you thought, I need to learn French. While you were completing your French course, suddenly this individual appeared that needed help. And you thought, you know what? I'm not an arsehole, so I'm just going to help this individual. It won't cost me anything. And indeed, it didn't cost you anything. The individual didn't ask you to relocate a piano for him, which you couldn't do on your own. The individual didn't ask something of you that would go against your health. So you think, okay, I can help this individual. I can help him or her with filling in some forms for maybe welfare or whatever. You did it. But then this individual you've helped keeps lingering around you. But because you're active with reading French newspapers, doing that, an individual only calls you or once in a while, you don't notice it that much. It's when you stop responding to that individual, suddenly that the individual freaks out. And it's then you realize that there's an evil spirit behind this. What's going on? The demons see that you are prosperous in French. The demons can't take that away from you. They don't have that power. What they can do is cause some distraction to limit your activity in French. And that is what they were doing to this individual that needed help. Even if the individual that needs help is not aware that evil spirits are using him or her, he or she is still complicit in what's going on. Because demons use people for distraction. That, I'm saying, when demons want to distract you, they use people who don't want solutions. Because you have folks that don't want solutions. They may pretend that they want solutions, but when it comes down to it, they just want to dump frustrations and be left alone. Such people the enemy will use to distract you. Now, this pattern of distraction, I want you to see it when it happens. It can be your mom or dad or some relative that asks you, how are you? There's nothing wrong with people asking you how you are. But there are times you need to question why they're asking you about your well-being. If it's obvious that things are going well with you, why they're asking it? Yeah, of course, how are you? It can be a standard sentence in starting a conversation. I know that. But when someone out of the blue calls you to ask you how you are, okay, there's nothing wrong with that. But look at the timing. If things are going well and they ask you that, pay attention. Because it can be that demons will use them to suggest harm onto you. For example, you're in your living room. You just came from work. You work part-time. And you're watching TV. Your wife comes in. She just brought the children to school. And then you have your aunt that calls you. Hey, Bert. You say, hey, aunt. And she asks, Bert, are you okay? Then you think, Bert says, yeah, of course I'm okay, aunt. Why are you asking? Well, you know, I just watched the news and a lot of people are losing their jobs these days. I'm glad you have a stable job, that you won't end up homeless and all of that. And let me say, this Bert now feels awkward. He feels uncomfortable, so he cuts the conversation. He says, aunt, I need to go now. See you. Some consider him rude for doing that, but here's the thing. That aunt was operating in fear. She didn't want to face the fear she was operating in. So when she saw the news, demons gave her a hint to call Bert and to ask how Bert was, because the demons suggested onto her through telepathy that Jeff may lose his job and become homeless. So the aunt, concerned, called Jeff. And she was concerned, but the concern did not come from the Holy Spirit. The concern didn't even come from herself. The concern came from demons who wanted to use the concern of that aunt to suggest bad outcomes onto Bert. Here's the thing. Why did she mention that people become homeless because they lose their job and all that? Why did she even mention that if things are going well with you? It was the demons speaking through her. Because the demons want to suggest onto you that you may lose your job, you may become homeless. That's the seed the demons were sowing into you. Now, Jeb cut off the conversation because she realized something was wrong here. Jeff's inner radar worked. There are times people's radar don't work properly, and they remain on the line trying to calm down on the aunt that or whoever it is that's how they are. And because they're friends or relatives, you think, they don't mean any harm. They may not mean you any harm, but the demons using them do. And because they are not delivered and they're not seeking deliverance, evil spirits can use them. So what's going on now? If you are not careful, that seed will be sown in your mind and you'll begin to doubt your security. And now because you doubt your security, you're now operating in anxiety. And now that you're in anxiety, negativity will come to you easily. And now you may not lose your job and become homeless, but now you're stressed out. Now you become physically sick. Now other stuff are coming on you. I'm telling you, pay attention to this pattern of distraction that the enemy uses. It's a common pattern the enemy often uses. What I mean with pay attention is this. When people call you to ask how you are, put it in context. Who is it? Why are they asking it? I'm not telling you to become suspicious. I'm not telling you to become paranoid. I'm just telling you to pay attention. The enemy works in patterns. Anytime anything good happens to you, the enemy comes with suggestions through other people. Suggestive witchcraft isn't only practiced by human beings. Suggestive witchcraft is practiced by demons themselves. And the demons use people to do it. Now, if you go to a fortune teller, then you will get suggestive witchcraft automatically, because that's what you can get with a fortune teller. But evil spirits will not wait for you to go to a fortune teller, because many of you will never go to a fortune teller because you simply won't. And the demons know that. So that's why the demons bring the fortune telling to you. So if you have a good bond with an aunt of yours or one of your parents or someone else, and that someone else with whom you have a close and good bond is not in line with Christ, they have issues, then demons will hijack those issues to suggest some kind of bad outcome onto you. That's why listen to what I'm saying here. Sometimes the Holy Spirit will cut ties between you and certain people, not because those other people mean you harm, but because those other people, unbeknownst unto them, they will transfer danger onto you sooner or later. It's not that they mean you harm. They don't mean you any harm. They may never mean you harm. Okay? So that's good. But because they are not in line with Christ, because they are not facing things, they have issues that demons can use. And sooner or later, demons will use them in some scheme to trap you. Demons will use them to scam you. And the Holy Spirit sees this clearly. You don't. They can't see it because they don't even care. They're distracted. The Holy Spirit removes them from you to spare you harm and spare you danger. There are folks out there whom the enemy will use to endanger you. And the enemy will use them to endanger you by using them to trigger you into some distraction. A distraction only comes when there's something good the enemy wants to take your hands away from. If nothing good happens to you, the enemy wouldn't need to distract you. It is because something good happened that the enemy now comes to distract you so you won't operate in that good. The enemy wants you in a state of anxiety, seeking relief. The enemy doesn't want you to operate in anything good. Because the enemy has counterfeit goods he offers you, which will backfire on you. Don't you know that there are certain friendships that will backfire on you? I'm not talking about friendships with people that get drunk every weekend, or people that are involved in gangs or in drug dealing. Of course, such friendships are dangerous to have. I'm not talking about them. You may have friendships with people that come from loving households. They have a job, they go to church, they're polite, they're not evil people, they have a kind heart, and you think these are the type of people I need. Some of those friendships with good people may backfire on you. Why? Because those people who don't mean you nor anyone else any harm, they have things they don't notice about themselves. They have issues they can't see, and because they don't look at the bigger picture, they don't notice when Satan comes with his scams. So being with those folks, even though they mean you no harm, even though they mean nobody any harm, the enemy can use their quote-unquote human goodness to scam others. And they're not even aware Satan is using them. In the picture in the background of this video, you see some domino stones. And you have a hand that stopped a pattern. Because the stones were falling down, and eventually the next stone would fall, and then the fall of that stone would cause the fall of another one. It would go on and on and on. That's how it is with patterns of violence. That's how it is with generational curses. That's how it is with paranormal contention. And the Holy Spirit will come in between and halt it from continuing with you and others. So trust Holy Spirit when he acts. Agree with Christ and be at peace.